I don't know what the numbers is, but it'll be years of my life that
Yeah.
add up in hours, minutes, to become days, to become weeks, months, years that I spent on a phone. Chloe, welcome to Real Pod.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on the show and just get to talk to you. I've been such a follower of your videos back in the day, and then now your new journey that you're on. And I think it is so human, like to feel like you're craving change and you're craving something different in your life, but then having the courage to actually do that is a whole other thing. And few people actually ever like really listen to what their bodies are wanting or what their minds are craving and actually do it. And you've essentially kind of done the thing and took that leap of faith. And I can't wait to hear all about it. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I first found your videos back in the day when I was getting into vlogging in college. I started to watch more, and then I found some of like, you know, what were like the OG, like iconic channels, and I would watch them and really just admire like the editing, the creativity. I mean, so much goes into it from like that side of it. And that's how I first found your videos. And I don't think I've ever heard the story of how you even began, because you were on for like 9 or more years, correct?
Yeah, 9 years. I was 14 when I started, and I had just moved to a new school, and I didn't have any friends, and I was really lonely. And I started watching YouTube videos and felt like the people that I was watching were my friends. And I felt like this was something I could see myself doing. So yeah, I started and I just didn't stop. Like, I fell in love with it. And even while I was juggling school and extracurriculars and everything, I couldn't stop. Like, I loved creating. I think the fast turnaround with YouTube as well. Like, you have an idea and you make it and then it's out and it's just like,
You like that? I feel like that made
yeah.
me anxious.
No, I loved it. I think like later down the line when I started to work on longer projects, I just didn't have the patience because I was so used to just like having an idea and just making it. So it was truly like, feels like the first love of my life was YouTube. And I was so willing to honestly like give up everything else in my life for my YouTube channel, for my videos, for my like creative journey. And if anything came in the way of that, I felt like it took priority. It got to a point where I didn't feel like I had many close friendships. I had never been in a romantic relationship. I felt like I didn't know who I was outside of this thing I had created and this character I had created. And so, yeah, I just kind of had to let go of all of it and be in the abyss for a little and figure out who I am without all the numbers, all the views, this machine, you know?
When I think about a story like yours, and I'm so drawn to it, I think almost whether like I don't know if it's not inner child or projecting, because I feel like projecting is usually people project it's negative. But for me, with your story, it's almost more of a seeking, because I have these thoughts about I'm on my phone a lot, or I can't even have dinner with my husband without thinking about how this is a content idea. I'm like, what? I should be able to just have it like a date with you and not think about how this is a viral TikTok. So I'm very inspired by the journey you've took, because I think it's one that a side of me has a lot of curiosity about, because I too, maybe not to the way that you were, but am feeling this imbalance in my life with content and social media being, you know, raised up higher than maybe I would like. So you're making these videos, you're 14, and then, you know, the years pass, 15, 16, 17, you're becoming so successful, millions of subscribers, millions of views on videos. What was it like getting every brand deal that you would want, or collaboration with other creators, or going to every event, right? That's the thing people usually want when they're building their platform, and management and a team and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild. The other day, I was just going through all my stuff because I got all my stuff from my storage unit, and I have this box of just so much makeup. Like every brand in the world sending me makeup, like NARS and Urban Decay, and like just like the biggest brands. And when I first started my channel, that was like all I wanted. It was brands to send makeup to me. I thought that'd be so cool.
Pay me in makeup.
Yeah. And then here I am giving it all away to all my cousins. I'm just like, just take it all. Like, I don't want any of this stuff. And it got to a point where it got so overwhelming for me. I think the makeup and the brand deals and the events and all of it, like, I don't know if we just have to consistently go on these journeys where we like think we want these things and then achieve them and realize we don't actually want them. But that's what happened to me. I think I'm just kind of a quieter, softer person who likes a bit more simplicity. But I think a part of my soul really wanted to experience the flashing lights and all of it, and having like fans come up to me all the time, or doing meetups where I have 400 people and people are screaming my name and taking pictures. And it was amazing, but it also was so overwhelming for my highly sensitive soul
Yeah.
to be in those kind of environments. And I'm just such a different person now. But I'm also very glad and grateful that I got the opportunity to experience that.
Mm-hmm. It's such a relatable point of wanting to achieve it for yourself to then realize, like, when you pull back the curtain of Oz, it's not like all it's chalked up to be. And I've had so many people on the show with similar, whether they were Olympians and they're like, I got to the Olympics, I won a medal. And then I was like, I'm still unhappy. I still struggle. And even though we've heard these stories and we hear like The Lucky One by Taylor Swift, or I don't know if you've heard like Lucky by Britney Spears.
That was my song. I wanted to be lucky.
Dude, that reminds me of you. Just like that whole music video on that song, I was thinking, Chloe must like bop to this.
Yeah, I know. When I was like 7, I watched that video and it imprinted in my mind of like, this is what I want to be when I'm older. And for some reason, it just stuck with me. It's probably the first like childhood memory I have where I remember like knowing what I want for myself.
But isn't it ironic that in that same video, she's showing how she's so unhappy with
She's so
all
sad.
the things that we all want?
She's like in this beautiful mansion, glitz and glamour. Everyone's taking photos of her. Everyone's obsessed with her. And she is so sad. And the whole song is like about how sad she is.
I know.
And I think I like idealized that, this version of like the sad, successful starlet, you know? And
It's almost in a weird way like American success,
mhm.
right? That's like becoming successful by society's terms and then feeling like empty inside. Because no matter how much you achieve or how much you do, there's always more.
Mhm.
So when did you first start having thoughts of, whoa, like, I mean, you went from living for your YouTube channel, right, to then thinking, maybe I don't even want to make videos. What was that? How long were you having those conversations with yourself? Who were you talking to in your life about it?
I think it was really when I hit 5 million subscribers. And that was like such a huge goal for me, to the point where I was uploading like twice a week on my main channel, almost every day on my vlog channel, posting every day on Instagram, like just a content machine to get to this goal. And I got to a point where I was like gaining 30,000 subscribers a day, just wild numbers. And then I got there and I felt so empty. And I felt so like, okay, now what? Like, I did this and it didn't make me feel that happy. There had been like some time before that where I took a break from YouTube and then I kind of came back. But after that break, every time I filmed, it literally felt like a piece of my soul was dying. And I talked about this a little bit in my goodbye YouTube video, but like I would feel so numb the entire time I was filming because I felt like I had to become this character that wasn't me anymore. And I would come home and I would take it all off, take off the makeup, take off the tiara, because I'd wear tiaras, and all of the flashy clothes, and just like get in my comfortable clothes. I'd like go lay in the grass in the park and just be in quiet and stillness and like recharge my energy, because it felt like so depleting every single time. And so I think, yeah, it just got to a point where it was like, my soul cannot do this anymore. And I remember I had just was offered like a $70,000 brand deal, and I turned it down, and my manager was like, okay, that's when you know she really like can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't sell my soul. And I think towards the end it kind of felt like I was selling my soul in a way.
And I wonder too, the like internal back and forth you might have had when it's something that previously a version of you loved and enjoyed, and then now you don't anymore. I've had a similar identity issue in my life. You're like, wait, but that's who I am. Like, then who am I going to be if I don't have this thing?
Yeah. So I think like most of my content was inspired by my probably like preteen self. I would turn into a mermaid or a fairy, or I'd live in a mall, or I'd like live in a mattress store and be jumping all over the mattresses. And I had this conversation once with my sister where I'm like, why don't I love this? Like, I'm doing everything I ever dreamed of. And she was like, you're doing everything your 8-year-old self dreamed of. Like, you're not her anymore. You don't want these things. So I think I almost felt this obligation to my younger self because like I had the capability to do everything she ever wanted. So I felt like I had to give it to her. But then it got to a point where I felt like I was living for her and not for me now.
Right. First of all, mic drop for the sister. Love when they come in with those truth
Yeah.
bombs. My older brother has had similar moments with me. They just know us so well and they can shoot us straight. Did you ever have moments where you were like really struggling in real life, whether it was mental health, body image issues, and then posting a video that like didn't at all allude to what you were going through, and then you felt like you were kind of keeping up like two versions of yourself?
Yeah, definitely. It happened all the time. For the last few years that I was doing YouTube videos, I was struggling with a pretty bad binge eating disorder. And I would also film a lot of these videos where I had to be in my bikini, like summer videos. And I would always like binge before those videos and then restrict. And then I'd like look perfect in my bathing suit and people would love my body. And I would feel, yeah, like I was lying a little bit. And I think just being on camera all the time was so much pressure. I'm sure you can maybe relate to that. Like, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this about me, but I also had a binge eating disorder. So we're twinsies there. I think when you did post a video about it, when you got to a good place and more comfortable, that was a super helpful video for me because people don't talk about binge eating disorders. Like, I mean, eating disorders are stigmatized, but the idea of, oh, hey, my problem is I eat like a lot. People can sometimes praise restriction. There is a unique shame I felt with almost like this idea of gluttony. I'm like, I grew up being told that was a sin.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also the kind of disorder that can be very much like hidden. I think you and I are both people who like have naturally more fit body types. And so like when I was eating a lot, I was also working out a lot. And so like no one would ever know that in my mind, I was struggling so bad. But on the outside, I was fit.
Right. But you have this extreme yo-yo happening internally. It's almost like you have the severe restriction, then the binging, and it's like they're weirdly balancing each other out from the naked eye, but inside it's really taking a toll. And the thing about binge eating, and I talked about this on a solo episode recently, is the more you keep it to yourself, the secrecy and the shame fuels the binge voice, at least for me, when like, I don't want people to know I'm eating or how much that I'm eating. I then am making it this big narrative in my mind. And so whenever I feel like I have the thoughts come back, I speak it. Like I tell Max or I tell my friend. And then it's almost like I imagine there's all this chaos and I'm like, and I'm blowing it all away because I'm speaking it and then it can't feed off of itself.
I mean, I just had this like beautiful moment of celebration, imagining our past selves looking at you and I now talking openly about this, like casually. Like I was at a point where like I didn't tell a single person in my life and I wanted to just hide in this dark little hole. And now we're just talking about it.
I know.
Like, that's so cool.
Why, when you said the old version of ourselves, did I imagine me in my freshman dorm room, like literally binging under my covers? Like, there's no way. She didn't. No, she didn't. Like, that's the version of myself that came to my mind.
Yeah, I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. And that's so sweet. It's like making me feel warm and fuzzy because I feel like we're always on this path of growth. And so then we don't stop and realize like how much progress we have made already in a healing journey.
Yeah.
So what was the pivotal moment that led you to actually decide, I'm doing this? And did that come along with leaving management and having to talk to teams? And like, I mean, what was that whole process that led up before maybe sitting down to film the Goodbye YouTube video?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just like recalling all of this the other day because I'm taking this course right now. And one of the like assignments of the course is we have to put out our entire life in core moments in sticky notes on the wall.
That's a lot of sticky notes.
It's like hundreds of sticky notes. So I just like was looking at all of this and kind of reliving that moment. And I like remember the specific moment when I was sitting at a cafe with my manager, Jonathan. He was my YouTube manager, but also kind of the business manager. He would kind of manage all the employees and everything that were a part of my company. So yeah, I told him I can't do it anymore. And then he like, was such an angel and was the one who kind of took everything apart. And I was able to just like relax because it was at a point where like I felt so numb and so dead and so like just overwhelmed that I would not have been able to even handle doing that on my own. So I just kind of had to like surrender and just be like, please, like, help me with this, you know?
Thank God for Jonathan. I mean,
Yeah.
like, usually you hear of this or the Elvis Presley movie that there's like an evil person running the
Mhm.
business and like wants to make money off of you and keep you going. So I love that you had someone in your life who saw you as a human before they saw you as a moneymaker. That's so special. Just for people listening to like properly grasp, like I want them to understand, because I think there's people in life who are thinking, oh, I can't walk away from my job or I can't walk away from this relationship that doesn't serve me. You literally, so you had employees, you had millions and millions of subscribers. You had endless opportunity, could go to any of like all of that. And you said, it doesn't serve me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so powerful.
Thank you.
It really is. So, and then how did your mind think about what other people would think? I'm a people pleaser and I care a lot. And you mentioned the views and the subscribers. So how did you go from caring so much about building the numbers up to then thinking, well, I might literally lose all those numbers?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it just got to a point where I didn't have the capacity to like even think about that. I had to just like put myself first because I could feel myself just like shriveling and crumbling. And my like creative life force energy is my baby. Like it's everything to me. So that kind of comes first. And I guess I don't think I actually even realized how much it would hurt for people until I read all the comments of my Goodbye YouTube video and like realized that so many people actually fully felt like I was their best friend or almost like they were in a relationship with me. Like not romantic, but like through the comments, I could see that it felt like a breakup. People really felt like they were losing me as a big part of their life. And that was really hard. I don't think I actually knew that I meant that much to people. So it was beautiful in a way to see how much my content had like impacted people and made them feel like they had a safe place and a safe space for themselves. But that's a lot of pressure. And at the end of the day, like it wasn't worth me feeling like my soul was dying. And I don't think any of them would want that for me. So
Yeah. And that's really a transformative realization that unfortunately a lot of people struggle to come to because it involves putting yourself first. And every message we've heard is about making sure other people are okay, or it's not about you, it's about the team, or it's about your family, or it's about your younger siblings. But we literally cannot help people or show up in the world and be able to create an impact if we have nothing to show up with.
Yeah, I felt like I couldn't give my all anymore, and if I can't give my all, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So you posted Goodbye YouTube, which I had watched at the time, and then I also rewatched getting ready for this. What were the immediate things you did, like the months following? Did you feel free? Did you feel like this weight off your back? Was it this gradual like coming off of almost not a drug, but something that you were used to doing all the time, and now you're like weaning off?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it did feel gradual in a way because like earlier, it was like a year before I had taken a 7-month break from YouTube. Before I had posted that video, like I had a few videos like that were pre-films that were going up. So like, yeah, I had like space to kind of slowly process it. But I went to this like full moon ceremony, and that was the moment that I realized that I needed to let YouTube go, and felt like this, you know, whole processing for myself. But that all happened before. And then after I released that video, I actually started to kind of like really put my focus into music. And I went to Europe and I was like singing in all these open mics around Europe and Barcelona and just like really putting myself out there. And then I also fell in love during that period. So there's just like so much inner exploration. But I put that video out February 2021. So like the month later, COVID happened. And yeah, I think the whole world was going through their own journeys too.
Right. So for Bright Side, that was somewhat in harmony.
Yeah.
You mentioned this full moon moment. You mentioned the core memories, stickies. I'd love to hear more about that because in the age of being so connected, we're really disconnected from reality.
Yeah. Speaking of the sticky note activity, like I ended up kind of sectioning it in chapters of my life. And the one that had the most core moments was right after I quit YouTube. And then I called it my awakening. So I had an actual moment where I felt like my spiritual awakening began. It was very intense. Like the way I explain it is when Bella becomes a vampire in Twilight and all of a sudden like she can see and smell and hear everything's like, you know, her senses explode. And I had that happen to me where it was like, what is happening to me right now? I literally feel like awake.
What were the things that led you there? And I'm personally curious because I recognize I'm not as spiritual or connected as I want to be. And I'm trying to get connected, you know, with that side of myself.
Yeah. Okay, so I've never spoken about this online, but because you asked and I feel ready and comfortable to talk about it, I can, but my heart's definitely racing a little.
It's okay. Take your time.
I had gone to this retreat. It was a meditation retreat and I had never even meditated before, but it was like a week of meditating for hours at a time, chanting, like being in group settings. And during that retreat, I kept noticing like I was really afraid to find out what I was there for. And by the end of the retreat, I had come out to myself as bisexual. And then a week later, I ended up going to Vietnam and I had my first sexual experience with a woman. And for some reason, that whole thing just unlocked, it woke me up in a way because I finally had reclaimed this part of myself that I had carried such deep shame around, my sexuality. So yeah, it feels good to talk about it.
I'm smiling so big for you. I literally love when people are themselves. That's why we're here, to be 100% ourselves. And that's awesome. And I'm so happy for you. And I hope you feel like the space to be accepted and celebrated by the people who love you. And I'm sure you've had that. But I think that's awesome, Chloe.
Yeah, it was a huge thing to come out to myself. I feel like I didn't know how much of myself I was hiding.
Yeah.
And then, I slowly just came out to everyone around me. And I guess I never fully came out online. So this feels like a big moment of maybe continuing to claim it. Because I think the fact that I noticed how much my heart was racing right now proves to me that there's probably still a big part of me that doesn't fully accept it or is nervous to put that into the world. So yeah, I'm excited.
I'm so happy for you. And thanks for trusting this space. When you said, and I was afraid to find what I was there for, I think that is something that I know a lot of people feel is well, who will I be if I actually get real with myself? For me, I'm like, if I actually put my phone down or I don't call people when I'm what's going to come up for me? Yeah. Did you read Untamed by Glennon Doyle? Okay. Are you familiar with it?
I think so.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
She talks about this idea of being a cheetah and how there is this cheetah in this zoo that she's at, and the cheetah doesn't know it's a cheetah because it's been raised in a zoo and it's never actually lived a cheetah life. And she had this awakening of what if, especially women, she has this thing of we're goddamn cheetahs and we're almost in this zoo complex and we have no idea what it means to be out in the wild, a true cheetah. And she ended up also having a sexual awakening and leaving her husband and marrying Abby Wambach. I think they're married, but they're together. And it's a really powerful story to recognize, I think, especially as women, the weird ways we box ourselves in and maybe don't realize what else we are seeking, but we feel an emptiness.
Yeah, I do remember. I think, did you talk about that on your podcast? One of the, I don't know. I've heard that story. Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, we're so we don't know our potential. And I feel something that I'm really waking up to within myself recently is this idea that there's just unlimited creative potential that exists within me. The other day, I was feeling really inspired by interior design and I was maybe I could do that. Or I don't know. I feel I'm at a point in my life where I just want to be completely open to all different types of creative channels and then allowing those to take me wherever it takes me. The past few years, I've been really focused on music and I still am very focused on music. It's still such like a core of my heart and my soul, and I love songwriting, and I hope to be able to put so much of my music into the world. But I'm also like not just limited to that, and I'm not limited to being a content creator, and like I could be anything and everything. And I want to be anything and everything.
Oh my gosh, I've been needing to hear this because I'm a put myself with a title, a box, a story. And the fact that you're like, yeah, maybe I'll design, maybe I'll do this. Just the way that society labels and then they group and then they make it definitive. But we are such gray area type of beings. And when we try to limit ourselves, we actually are like adding an anchor to like what's possible for our potential. And I struggle with that a lot because I'm always, when you're sending a bio of who you are, or when someone says, well, what do you do? And then you have to, how do I, make this one thing? Or you grow up and your family always celebrates that you were super smart or that you were the YouTuber. And then, you're trying to become a different identity. It's like caterpillar to butterfly or Bella, human to vampire.
Yeah, we're really capable of so much, especially as women. We're just like the channel for the metaphysical to become the physical, like from the divine. We literally channel humans through our portal, through our womb. So like we can channel anything.
Yes.
I'm kind of on a journey right now of not being in romantic relationship because I was in a few like back-to-back kind of quickly. And I'm really just like feeling like I want to be in relationship with God. Like when I was in my prime of YouTube, the way that I came up with my ideas, like they felt like they were just given to me from this magical place. And they would come at any time, like when I was on the treadmill or when it could be any time. And I just felt like I was gifted these ideas because God or spirit or whoever it was knew that like I would see it through and I would like they put it in my hands for a reason. And so something I've really been trying to do recently is just like open myself up. Like here I am. I'm a channel. Use me to like send the messages through. I'm open.
Yeah. And you have to create that space, right? To even like have the opportunity. I don't know if you've heard this before, but it makes me think about there's this bird theory thing where you know how birds know where to migrate and they know where to fly and they just know. And if you take a bird with no surrounding birds and it's in a cage and it has no way to see the outside, it will still move towards the corner of the cage at the time of year that the other birds are. And I don't think scientists have been able to figure out, someone fact check me, but they haven't been able to figure out like whether it's a magnetic pull to the earth, to the birds that send the message. But for me, what I take from it is like, we're also related to birds, animals in some way through evolution. So we have, like when you have those gut feelings or those intuitive thoughts, or when people just said, I just knew, something in me I knew. I believe we all have that voice, but we're not trained to listen to it because we listen to, what's on paper in the world of the job, the money, the career, the things to follow, the phone, that we don't create the space to open up to the world, to feel a tree, to smell a flower and to do grounding, walk without shoes on in the grass and like really connect to something we are connected to. And I wonder if a lot of the depression and the anxiety is because it's that quote that Rainn Wilson had shared, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we don't recognize that we are spiritual beings, a part of us that's living this very human life will always feel kind of dead.
Yeah. And what you were saying earlier about not doing what we feel like we're supposed to be doing, like I have always just felt like I have to do that. Like if I know something, I can't avoid it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how many hearts it's going to break, like if I feel like God, and I keep talking about God, but I don't like I also mean just spirit or the universe or whatever, like if I feel guided,
your higher power.
Yeah, if I feel guided in a specific direction and I know it as a truth in my soul, I have to do it. I feel like I signed that contract before I came here of like, I'm going to listen to this voice no matter how hard it is.
I just got chills. I just got chills of you feel like you signed that contract.
Yeah.
But also like, what is the fucking point of life if we're not gonna like do that? If we're not gonna listen to the things that we're feeling called to, or we're not gonna be fully ourselves, it's just, that's why like, I also can't understand when people like are so affected by other people's life decisions. Like, I just want everyone to be themselves and to be happy, because that to me is inspiring, and that's how you change the world.
Mhm.
Like, you being yourself gives other people permission to be themselves, and that changes the world.
Mhm.
So how are you making sure, like you said, you want to be open? You're saying, speak to me, speak through me. Are you having a certain routine? Are you intuitive with it? Are you
Mhm.
journaling? And then also, I guess, a follow-up question to that is, how are you dealing with the human stress of bills and work and what's my 20-year plan? Like,
Mhm.
how do you balance those opposing voices?
Yeah, I have many practices in place to, like, keep myself grounded and keep myself in flow. I recently have started waking up and the first thing I do is journal. It's called, like, hypnagogic writing. I think that's how you say it.
Mhm.
And you just, like, write everything. Like, you don't think, you just, like, pour it out. You write, like, 2 to 3 pages right away in the morning. And then typically I also meditate for an hour. I know that sounds intense and aggressive, but, like, it's
Did,
like
did
my
you build it up?
no, actually, I did this retreat. It was
What's
amazing.
the retreat? I'm trying to go.
It was an online, like, virtual meditation retreat where you receive a blessing from a guru and you're, like, initiated into this practice, and people who have never meditated before can effortlessly meditate for an hour. And I went in, like, skeptical. I was like, "I don't know about this, like, guru, whatever," but I was able to meditate so easily and enjoy it, and, like, the whole practice of, like, what he preaches and what this meditation group preaches is, like, just enjoy, like, just enjoy. There's not all this, like, tactic of you have to focus on your breath or you have to say this mantra over and over. It's just, like, just enjoy the experience, let your thoughts go wherever they want. You can lay down if you want to. So I think, like, that kind of freedom in meditation is amazing, and I look forward to my meditation every day. And I don't do it every day anymore, but yeah, it feels like a privilege almost to be able to meditate for an hour. Like, some people just don't have that kind of
It
time.
is, Chloe, and I'm so glad you said that, because honestly, seeking our, like, higher self, and like it is a privilege to even
Mhm.
have the time to
Yeah.
think about what we could be, or to
Mhm.
take the time and the space away. And that said, it's so important to recognize the privilege, but also it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it if you have the privilege just because other people can't do it.
Mhm.
I feel like I usually have this very pessimistic view towards myself when it comes to that, of like, who was I talking to? Oh, I had an episode with my mom on my podcast, and a woman said to me, "My mom passed away a few years ago, and I love seeing your relationship with your mom, because it makes me so happy for you."
Mhm.
And I thought, and I said this to her, I was like, "Oh, sometimes I feel like I shouldn't do
Mhm.
content with my mom because I think about people who don't have moms." And she said, "No, no one would think that. Like, we would be happy that you have something that, like, we would want or that we
Mhm.
had." And to this point, I don't think if you have the privilege to do these things, you shouldn't,
Mhm.
because others don't. But instead, it's about recognizing that you are privileged to do it,
Mhm.
and then allowing yourself the permission to do it, because good people would want everyone to be happy.
Mhm.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I had this moment recently where, like, I'm really emotional and sensitive, and I can cry. Like, I can just, like, let it all out, and I was crying in this, like, man's arms. He was holding me. It's, like, this guy I was kinda talking to, and, like,
T.
he expressed later that he was, like, so grateful for that because it, like, later allowed him to unlock a piece of his emotions he hadn't been able to unlock for a while, and, like, that's just, like, such truth of, like, continue to just do whatever feels right for you. Because for so many years, I was shamed for my emotions, called the crybaby, whatever, but it's like, my emotions, it might be triggering to some people, and maybe for other people, it allows them to access the grief of their mom passing away from years ago that they were never able to feel, like, even my emotions through my songs. I've had people come up to me after I sing a song and tell me, like, they haven't been able to cry in years, but they were able to cry listening to my song
Mhm.
because I just, like, pour my emotion into everything I do. So, yeah, it's just, like, a true testament to never stop being you because you never know who it's helping and who it's
Yeah.
healing.
And one of my favorite quotes from a mentor of mine is, like, if that's who you are, be about it. Like,
Mhm.
be about it. And it could be someone who's into fashion, or they're into interior design. And it's like, just because some people might not vibe with it or they might not do it, if that's your thing, be about it.
Mhm.
I know you had posted that your relationship to social media this year has been rocky.
Mm.
Like, how are you navigating that? And like, do you have plans for what you're thinking about your next work endeavor, or are you just like waiting for it to come to you?
Yeah, I constantly delete all the social media apps off my phone. Like Instagram's currently deleted off my phone. I'll re-download it and like test the waters and see where I am, but it feels like an addiction at the moment, and I don't feel like I have self-control. Like I use Instagram specifically and occasionally TikTok, but TikTok's like way too dangerous. Like I use it to numb out my emotions, and I don't want to give myself an easy place to numb because I'm here to feel it all. And I hate that it's that way because I see social media as such a beautiful tool as well, and I'd love to be able to share on it. But at the moment, I guess the like being a user of social media has been, like, extremely detrimental to my life, and if I continue down the path I was on, like, will shave years off my life of, like, this is, like, what I'm giving all my energy to, and I hate that, like, it makes me angry because this life is so precious, and we're
Mhm.
here to be, like, experiencing, like, true connection, and then we're
Mhm.
just, like, literally frying our dopamine levels through Instagram and then, like, have nothing left to give or experience, and it's just yeah, I could go into it forever, but
Chloe, I dead ass think about what my screen time will be in years on my deathbed. And it is a thought that is so repulsive to me because if I go at the rate that I'm going, I literally think when I'm 85, I don't know what the numbers is, but it'll be years of my life that
yeah.
that add up in hours, minutes to become days, to become weeks, months, years that I spent on a phone.
There's an app that will tell you. I downloaded it,
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure it was, like, 22
I'm
years.
too afraid. Talk about the things that we don't want to, like the things we're afraid of.
Like, I think it said 22
Oh my
years.
God, just based on like YouTube videos? Well,
Yeah,
y-
I mean, I don't know exactly what it's based on, and that might be wrong, but
yeah.
there's definitely like, I feel like it would be years at
We
least.
do have to cut ourselves somewhat of some slack because our phone and social media was work. So the
Yeah.
same way that people's, they'll find out how many hours years they spent at their job.
Mhm.
That's similar for us.
Yeah.
But I think the part of me, I know I'm a very talkative. I love connecting with humans. One of my favorite things to do when you said you were going to take your shoes off before the podcast, I love it. I'm like,
Mm.
I wish we could sit on the carpet
Mhm.
in crisscross applesauce because there's something about that stuff that's comforting and the
Mm.
socializing. And I don't get a lot of that with my job. So it's not even like the years that will be computed to phone are even times I spent doing the thing that I love the most, which
Mm.
is connecting to other humans.
Mm.
But this is work and this is what I love. Like, this is literally what I love to do. Your story and you being on this podcast, this is the epitome of why I even have this show. So
Mm.
thank you to you for coming on and
Mm.
giving me this gift of this chance to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. I was, like, thinking on the car ride over here how exciting and amazing it is that I just to get to, like, show up today and just tell my story and talk, and, like, you have created this entire platform for me to just, like, be here and just enjoy it, because I know how much work goes into all of that. I mean, I never had a podcast, but yeah, I know you've just built an entire business, so I'm just grateful to be here and to be able to share my voice and to be received.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That means so much. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like my routine is to end an interview like this and then be like, all right, check my text, check my emails, what's the
Mhm.
next thing, and not actually bask in like the beauty of a moment and what is successful for us.
Mm.
Because our metric of success sometimes is the ones given by society, and it's not an amazing conversation. I think we all need to slow down and recognize the little things that are actually really big things.
Yeah, yeah, success to me now looks like a life abundant with friends and family and love and good food and
Mm.
music and sunshine, and, like, if you had asked me 4 years ago, 5 years ago, what success looked like to me, it was just numbers and views, and I literally said these words, like, "I would rather be successful than happy." Like, those were words that came out of my mouth. Yeah.
Talking to a business manager or a
To my
colleague.
sister.
Oh, mhm,
Yeah. Yeah, which is so crazy, but it's like, why would I give up my whole life for that?
mhm.
And I love that part of life too. Like, I love being driven and ambitious and having ideas and bringing them to fruition. Like, I want all of that too, but not any more than I want to be in love or to like put my feet in the grass, like we were saying. Like I want it all.
Mm-hmm. And you're shifting to be process oriented. Like the pursuit of the creativity is the success and not the final YouTube video that goes up and gets a number count or like likes. Like this is so inspiring for me. First of all, I feel like I want to just take off all my clothes and run through a field. Secondly,
wow, I'm so glad that that's what my energy like makes you want to do.
No, literally. And then secondly, I need to start doing these, really taking the time to be mindful. And I think like recentering my thoughts, because I'll have these conversations and be really fired up, and I'm sure people listening are, and then we get sucked back into the hamster wheel. And so I think like even before I started my work day, if I could remind myself, like I already have everything that I need. Like I have everything that I need, and anything else is just, a cherry on top, then you approach work and life with like such a different outlook, because it doesn't feel like, what we want is happiness. And we get confused that more means happy, but more doesn't mean happy, because I have the, ability to be happy in this moment.
Yeah. And what you were saying earlier too, like you wanted to just maybe take in this podcast instead of moving on to the next thing. Like when I got home last night after a really full day, I just like laid on my cozy rug by the fireplace and just like closed my eyes and just took it all in. Like I just kind of sat there and processed everything. And so like maybe try that after a podcast. Just like close your eyes for a little and like process it, because this life is so stimulating. There's so much all the time. And I think almost to like help our nervous systems, we feel like we have to like keep that up and just go into the next thing.
I need to. And thinking about it, I know when I do that, I'll cry, which is maybe why my subconscious would be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it. That's my promise to you. And I hope everyone who listened is inspired to take those soft, quiet moments for themselves. And lastly, before we go, you have a new song. Please tell us about it.
Yes, I have a new song. I released it a few months ago, so it's not that new, but it's called Beautiful Soul. And I actually wrote it for all of my subscribers. And it's just like a channeling of love. So yeah, it's on Spotify. Just search Cloe Beautiful Soul.
It's really good. I was listening to it, and you have your pretty white top and you're on the beat. The whole vibe is amazing. So congrats on that. And yeah, everyone stream Beautiful Soul. Cloe, thank you so much. This was like, I can't put words to this. This was so special. Thank you for taking the time. Thanks for trusting me and Real Pod community. And I'm rooting for you. Always have been. Still will be. So thanks so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Real Pod. If this hit home or helped you in some way, send it to a friend, a teammate, roomie. Share the love, share the realness. New episodes of Real Pod come out every single Wednesday. So make sure you are subscribed to this podcast so you never miss an episode.